The New York Times calls it a worthy investment. Hi everyone, welcome back to a new episode of Shelf Talk, a super informal conversation of all things research, reference, and instruction. I'm Sarah with TML, and today I wanted to talk about summer reading, and specifically I wanted to share some of the titles that I've been reading. With us today is also my new kitty Veek, so we may have a little bit of a distraction throughout the video. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Something about Veek is that he likes to chew on the edges of books. There he goes, right now. He's doing it. No, Veek. We don't eat books. We don't eat books. No. So I said in a previous episode that I'm normally reading a nonfiction and a fiction book at the same time. Well, that's still true. I'm actually reading more than just 2 books at one time. I'm actually currently reading an entire stack of books. I'm finding that with all this time at home, I keep picking up more and more books because really, what's one more book when we have a lot of time to get through them? And you can see based off of my bookmarks here just how far along I am in each book. I track my reading in my bullet journal with just an analog list, but I also track using Goodreads, a social reading platform that is freely available to the public. It allows you to create virtual bookshelves and shelve books that you want to read, are currently reading, have read in the past, or that you actually own on your physical bookshelf as well. It's a good way to keep any notes about a book that you have currently read. It's good to keep track of rereads of a book. It's good to keep in contact with people or find people that are reading similar books. So the first book I want to share with you today is The Golden Compass by Philip Pullman. It is actually a young adult novel, and I can tell that because I'm a librarian, but also because of the call number. Call numbers are normally on the spine of a book. I believe this is the only book right now that's not mine in a library book, but I can tell that it came from a public library because the call number is in the Dewey Decimal System, teen, FPUL. So it is a fiction, it's a teen fiction, and the letters there are the first 3 letters of the author's last name. So this book is the first in the series called His Dark Materials. Some of you may be familiar with the HBO show called His Dark Materials. That show is based off of this book and this series. So just to read a short excerpt from the back, it says, Lyra is content to run wild among the scholars of Jordan College, with her demon familiar always by her side. But the arrival of her fearsome uncle, Lord Asriel, draws her to the heart of a terrible struggle, a struggle born of gobblers and stolen children with witch clans and armored bears. So I'll stop there. But if that sounds interesting, The Golden Compass by Philip Pullman. The next book I want to share is one that I just started reading. I actually received this in the mail recently as a surprise from my best friend, and so it was really fun for me to dig into this. It is called Untamed by Glennon Doyle. She is also the author of Love Warrior, and actually, I believe she wrote 2 other memoirs. Yes, she wrote Carry On Warrior and Love Warrior. But just to read a little bit of the inside flap, this is how you find yourself. There is a voice of longing inside each of us. We strive so mightily to be good. Good partners, daughters, mothers, employees, and friends. We hope all this striving will make us feel alive. Instead, it leaves us feeling weary, stuck, overwhelmed, and underwhelmed. We look at our lives and wonder, wasn't it all supposed to be more beautiful than this? This is a story of modern feminism, and I'm so here for it. Wow, she has praise from Elizabeth Gilbert, Oprah, Brene Brown. Okay. Next, I have a book that I'm actually reading for the second time. It is a biography. It is called Louisa May Alcott, and it is by Susan. Not Susan. Sorry, Susan. Susan Cheever is a best-selling author of 13 previous books, including 5 novels and the memoirs Note Found in a Bottle and Home Before Dark. I really love this biography of Louisa May Alcott. Most people will know her, obviously, as the woman who wrote the novel Little Women. In this encouraging biography, Susan Cheever explores with new insight and research a story that inspired generations of women and the life of an author whose fierce independence and personal choices defied the wisdom of her time. And of course, I can't be reading Susan Cheever's biography on Louisa May Alcott without also rereading Little Women. This particular copy has been with me since I was a little girl. It does say children's classics on the bottom, and throughout there are some really beautiful illustrations. And some people may be surprised to know that Little Women was published in 2 parts. The first part was called Little Women, and the second part was called Good Wives. What we know as Little Women today is normally those 2 parts put together. If you have not read this classic, I absolutely recommend it. Even the audiobook versions are excellent. The last book I want to share with you is A Week on the Concord and Merrimack Rivers by Henry David Thoreau. Now, I actually started reading a digital copy of this book that was freely available from the Project Gutenberg, but I got sick of reading it online. I was having to highlight with my cursor to keep my space. It was a little bit challenging, so I picked myself up a copy. And I just love this quote on the back. "There is in my nature, methinks, a singular yearning toward all wildness." You may know Thoreau as the man who lived at and wrote about Walden Pond. And it's unfortunate that so many of his other books and writings isn't as heavily read because they are fantastic. I absolutely adore this particular memoir. It actually follows the journey that he and his brother took up the Concord and Merrimack Rivers in a boat. And it's a beautiful piece of nature writing. Check it out. Oh, and I almost forgot, because listening is also reading. I've been listening to an audiobook on Hoopla called, let me bring it up. I don't want to get the title wrong because it's kind of a long title. It's called The Beasts of Extraordinary Circumstance by Ruth Emmy Lang. And it's really interesting. I don't know how to explain it. It's like realistic fantasy, if that's a thing. The protagonist is a man who grew up with wolves, and he can control the weather and make plants grow. I'm maybe like 3 hours from the end, so I'm very curious to see what will happen to all of the characters that I've really enjoyed listening to. So I mentioned that this is on Hoopla. Hoopla is a really great audiobook and ebook service right now that you can get through public libraries if you have a card at your local library. What's great about Hoopla is that multiple people can check out or download a book at a time. If you're using an app like Overdrive, Libby, I believe does this, and Cloud Library, there's only one book available of each title, and you have to put it on hold. So right now, since all of us are stuck at home, Social distancing hoopla is really great, especially if you want to do your own book club with friends or family and you all need to have access to the same book. What have you been reading this summer? And how do you keep track of what you're reading? I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. But for now, I'm Sarah with TML. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye!